we're going to be looking at the top 10 fastest growing communities in the state of Florida. I found some top 10 lists on the internet about the fastest growing communities in Florida, and they are outdated, they're misleading, they're realtors promoting the area they live in. People watching this video, this crap is absolutely unacceptable. I'm going to give you guys a real top 10 list for the fastest growing places in the state of Florida. I am not a realtor, I'm not a developer, I'm just a really good YouTuber who likes to put out real information. So this is what realtors in Florida sound like.
I am a realtor. I've been selling houses for 213 years.
What these online lists are doing is they're comparing information from 2010 to information from 2020. So now you're comparing information from 12 years ago to information from 2 years ago. This is the metric that most of these online lists are using. The problem with doing that is that Florida is a rapidly evolving state. For example, my top 10 list for the best and worst places, I have to update that list on a yearly basis. The only list that I found on the internet that was somewhat relevant is from a YouTuber called Revenue Consulting, who made a list of permits pulled by county, and that made a lot of sense. Beyond that, there's still a little bit more you have to look at. Permits pulled does not exactly mean that those are going to be homes that families and people are going to be living in. In some areas, new permits actually mean less population density. In the case of Naples Park, for example, the more expensive the houses get, more homes become rental properties, seasonal rentals, and therefore there's actually less people living in those communities, despite the fact that there's construction, permits, and new homes being built and higher real estate prices. There's a lot we have to cover before we get into this list so that you guys understand what this list is about. A lot of other YouTubers and also online lists are putting Bonita Springs as one of the fastest growing places in Florida. Bonita Springs has a city limit. Within that city limit, almost every single lot that can be built has already been built. There's nowhere for Bonita Springs to grow. Growth in Bonita Springs is going to be constricted. And for reasons we're not going to discuss on this video, the displacement of the local residents with out-of-state buyers will not grow the population. In fact, it could reduce it. Growth along the coastal communities like Naples, Tampa, and other places like Southeast Florida that are already built up is completely constricted, and therefore areas like Orlando, where there's more land available, are the areas that are growing the most. And there are regions of the Florida Panhandle that are near some of the state's greatest beaches is currently not being built, but I'm seeing so much land being cleared and there's less elevation issues. A lot makes me suspect that that region of the state, from Walton County, Santa Rosa County, and anything in the extreme western end of the Florida Panhandle, could be in the future prepared for massive growth. But that's just my own personal opinion. We found an online list that had a place called Fruitland Park as one of the fastest growing places in Florida because the population did grow. We discovered homeless people eating out of garbage cans. And that's the type of result you get when somebody in a different state draws up a list about Florida based solely on statistics from like 12 years ago. These are the places that have the most construction, the most infrastructure, and not only that, but there are places you might actually consider moving to. For example, the city of Jacksonville had 20,000 permits pulled according to Revenue Consulting. Good. Here's the problem. The population of Jacksonville is the largest in the entire state of Florida, and Jacksonville has a large number of investors, and most of these are turning into rental properties. And despite statements from the police department saying that the crime rate in the city is going down and it's less than ever before, I've recently spent time in Jacksonville, and it's more violent than any time I've ever been there. I have friends that live in Jacksonville, and they're telling me the city's increasingly becoming violent. I look at my YouTube comments, and my subscribers are telling me that violence in Jacksonville is completely out of control. So on one side, the sheriff's department and realtors are telling you one thing, but But when you spend some time on the ground, you find out the truth. So despite being one of my favorite cities, it's not on this list. We're talking about the type of growth that you, as an out-of-state buyer or somebody looking to improve their life, is going to want. Places like Tampa grew. Suburbs like Riverview and Tampa grew. And now they have the biggest gridlock traffic jam because they didn't put any infrastructure in the way. Number 1 is Clermont and Davenport. The area west of Orlando, just outside the parks, is undoubtedly the fastest growing area in the entire state of Florida. Everything from grocery stores to opportunities in employment to new communities, all of that is going into this region of the state. And since we don't want this entire video to be suburbs of Orlando, we're going to break it down into regions instead of actual cities. Few realtors that live in the West Orlando area had a field day with that one. I mean, they took advantage of the situation more than somebody in Broward County driving a 94 Corolla after being rear-ended. I'm talking flopping on the ground like a tilapia on the sidewalk, on the phone with 4111 pain, and your uncle who owns a body shop. I mean, that's how realtors in the Orlando area took that list. I mean, they made him say, like Master P. Number 2 is Lake Nona in the area in southeast Orlando around the Orlando airport. This area is growing tremendously, and they're putting in brand new hotels that are absolutely awesome. I like to gauge new hotels as a really good indicator of what's happening in an area. If they're putting new hotels in, it means they're anticipating more people to come work in the area, and it is a great sign of future development in an area. If you're thinking about moving to an area, see if there's new hotels with 0 miles in that area. If that area has new hotels, it means people are going to be coming into work and stuff, and that area is about to pop off. If the area doesn't have new hotels, then probably nobody important like builders, developers, and investors are staying in that area. It's a really great indicator, and I have found that to be very true in my travels across America. Moving on to number 3, Ocala, but in particular, the southern part of Ocala. There's like a little ring. Starts off in Citrus County, moves through Marion Oaks, and in southeast Ocala, and they're building a lot of houses through there. The northern side of Ocala is kind of untouched by development, but the southern region, starting from about 200, going all the way across the southern part of Ocala, lots of growth and lots of homes going in here. Now, this isn't a fancy area. They're not building exclusive hotels. They're not building incredible infrastructure. These are houses for people who are relocating from South Florida who are being outpriced and people who need affordable housing. So while it's not incredible fancy stuff, it is a humongous growth in the area, and most people are not moving directly into the city of Ocala. It's way off into the outskirts. The city of Ocala is one of the few places where you could actually find rents when there was rents nowhere. Moving on to number 4, Eastern Lee County, in particular Lehigh Acres, Buckingham, Port LaBelle, which is actually Henry County, and Bobcat Ranch, which is actually Charlotte County. This is what online lists refer to as Fort Myers. However, that is a little misleading. For example, I technically live in Fort Myers, but in reality, I live in Buckingham or Lehigh Acres. If you land in one of the larger developments like Bobcat Ranch or Portico or any of the other large communities they're building, you're going to have good internet, you're going to have access to city sewage, all that good stuff. If you end up in Lehigh Acres, you get a septic tank, some nasty well water, and no internet access that's reliable. So when you talk about infrastructure in Southwest Florida, the rich people in the gated communities get everything, and the regular people like me get nothing. Nobody's actually moving to the city of Fort Myers. They're moving to the outskirts. Hey, make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, please. Moving on to number 5, Cape Coral. Now here, you do get a little bit more infrastructure, you get a little bit more control from the city government, and you also get a bunch of Karens. Like a bunch of Karens. This is like the most whiniest city in the entire state of Florida, and it has been growing a lot. There's a lot of rules and regulations, like you can't park a commercial vehicle on your driveway. So if you want to live in Naples but you can't afford it, you end up in Cape Coral. A while back, Cape Coral was the number one city to move to in Florida on one of my own lists. What this city has become after I published that list, I don't know who you people are moving down here in Florida, but just move somewhere else. Now, at night, Cape Coral becomes like a whole different thing. For some reason, despite the fact it's kind of nice in the daytime, at nighttime, the wannabe gangster kids that grew up in New Jersey come out and it turns horrible. Moving on to number 6, the Venice Northport area. Now, those kids from New Jersey haven't moved to this area yet. They've been moving to Cape Coral. So if you want something a little bit more quiet and less ratchety, then the Northport area and the Venice area is great. It's been growing a lot. There's great new communities and there's also rural areas. If you are buying land here, like I was trying to buy, make sure your realtor is experienced. I actually wanted to buy a piece of land in Northport as an investment, and my realtor found out it was actually a scam. So be very careful buying land and investments from a random realtor. If you don't know what the crap you're doing, have somebody on your side who is a little bit more knowledgeable so you don't get burned. Southwest Florida is full of scammers and frauds. It's a great area. You just got to use common sense and make sure you deal with people that are reliable and honest. It may take time, but it's really worth doing your homework. Moving on to number 7. The Golden Gate Estates in Ave Maria. That's Cuyler County, which is the Naples metropolitan area. The only place left for development in this entire county is Ave Maria, which is right outside of Immokalee, and the Golden Gate Estates, which still has plentiful empty lots that haven't been built. In other words, you can anticipate growth and development in that part of the city for a long time to come. There is almost no land left in Naples to build large communities, which is what many buyers are wanting, unless they start to rezone agricultural areas. Even considering that the entire city of Naples is the parking lot for a furniture store at this point, because they've built so many furniture stores. Anytime a new development comes in, the local Karens start to cry and complain about how they're destroying the city, like if it wasn't already destroyed. Anytime that they're going to build something nice in Naples, they start to cry and complain and the investors back out. I crack up every time I see these people from the Golden Gate Estates who think they're going to save Naples. There's no saving Naples. The entire city is the parking lot for a furniture store. There's absolutely no infrastructure. When the city started to grow, they built Livingston Road, they expanded Immokalee, they did a few things. But moving forward, what are they doing? Naples needs expressways and probably even a beltway at this point. Lee County has an incinerator. The Cuyler County landfill is an open landfill that leaks chemicals into the Everglades. Nobody seems to care about that. In Orlando, they can put up brand new hotels, all types of entertainment. Every time they're going to build something in Naples, they start to cry and complain, and they scare away the investors. Naples is never going to have anything nice. Every time something nice is going to go into Naples, they make a petition, they start to cry and complain, and then the investors back out. All the while, the entire city has become a giant parking lot. At first, Naples had the best planning of any city in Florida. We're talking 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. Currently, it is the most mismanaged metropolitan area in the entire state. What was once something admirable is now something detestable. So there it is. Naples, definitely not what it used to be when it comes to growth. And the areas that are growing further into the east. What used to be protected habitat for the Florida Panthers, but now they're trying to degrade the Florida Panther so they can build homes in protected areas. And this movement to declassify the Florida panther as a protected species has gained incredible support from people moving from out of state who did not go to school in Florida and have the same appreciation for the state's natural resources as the people who are from here, destroying the state's ecology, all while claiming to care about it. Being concerned about development, even though you are the reason there was development. Number 8 is the Suncoast Parkway. Now this area goes into Crystal River. It goes into Homosassa Springs. Some parts are even considered Brooksville. The Suncoast Parkway is a toll road that goes directly into Tampa. So people have been able, thanks to this piece of infrastructure, I don't know if you've heard that word in Florida, but thanks to the infrastructure of the Suncoast Parkway, people have been able to live and build homes as far north as Crystal River and still commute into Tampa. This area has been growing. Prices of land have been increasing dramatically, and you can expect this area to continue to grow. It's a little bit quieter than other parts of Florida, slower pace of life, great place to retire as well. You can find a large concentration of new homes between Citrus and Hernando County. Moving on to number 9 in Manatee County is Lakewood Ranch. This is a suburb of Sarasota, but it's also a suburb of Tampa. Traffic on Interstate 75 is tremendous, as most people who live way out in this area of Manatee County end up commuting into Tampa or Sarasota for work. But once you get deeper into the residential neighborhoods and off the interstate, traffic is less. This was many years ago the fastest region of the state when it came to growth, and with running out of land has actually slowed down because there's nowhere else to grow. Infrastructure is great within Lakewood Ranch itself, but pushing off into the rest of the metropolitan area, there hasn't been too much done to integrate expressways between Interstate 75 and the I-4 corridor. Unlike Naples, Sarasota has permitted skyrises and much larger investments, and this is a much better area if you're into arts and entertainment. Moving on to number 10, the last area that we're going to talk about is the Florida Panhandle. Now this area between Panama City Beach and Destin has a lot of growth. There's communities like Seaside and Rosemary Beach that are among the premier oceanside communities in the entire state. I don't know if you knew this, but the Florida Panhandle has the best beaches in Florida. Holding the area back is that there isn't a major city on the Panhandle. Tallahassee's stats for employment in other areas have been some of the weakest, not only in the state, but probably in the entire country. Increasing numbers in Pensacola could help. Nonetheless, this area has a lot of good communities. Milton, Pace, Niceville, lots of new homes going in as well along Navarre. The area is growing, and the Florida Panhandle is becoming a more popular option for growth. Has to be on the list. Beautiful areas. Can't wait to go back to the Florida Panhandle and enjoy some of their beautiful beaches. I hope you guys liked this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe.